Hello everyone. Good evening. This is Shadowy Stories, and tonight's tale from our Strange Tales Tavern is a urban legend adapted from the Thomas Cogg Archive series. Get your tea and drinks ready. Let's begin the story. Now I want to tell you something. I've sent countless emails and made countless calls to the disaster relief agencies in the affected area, and no one believes me. I understand what I'm about to say is incredibly crazy. If even a tenth of you listening believe me, I'll be satisfied. Actually, I don't really like how the outside world refers to our profession, storm chasers. It sounds too childish, like some sort of adolescent hobby. We storm photographers aren't just thrill-seekers. We provide truly valuable services based on our professional knowledge and abilities. We don't just capture images of storms. We also provide real-time feedback to meteorological agencies, giving them data on cloud pressure, wind direction, rainfall, and other information. This is a matter of safety for an entire region. On the day of the incident, my colleagues and I were conducting data collection about 6 kilometers north of a small town in Minnesota. Harvey and Lee D. They were leading the way in front, and my car followed behind, maintaining communication with them through a specially designed amplifier to ensure we could stay connected even in extremely harsh weather. I'm considered their apprentice, you could say. Harvey had been studying satellite weather monitoring for a long time, and Lee D., though a bit overweight, had been working as a storm chaser ever since he returned from military service. As the junior member, diligently learning from them was my duty. After all, incorrectly predicting the path of a hurricane is my responsibility. But even now, I still believe my prediction was accurate. It's just that some unusual phenomena occurred. As we passed Duverts, the chatter on our radios became lively. Leedy insisted that it was about to hail, while Harvey denied it, saying, "Impossible, the pressure isn't high enough," to let them know I was still following. I casually added, "The boss said it's going to hail, so it will. See?" Leedy started arguing with Harvey. "We should have a successor who actually knows what they're doing." Our cars were accelerating, speeding through Rochester, chasing the wind blowing towards the Mississippi River. Harvey's voice suddenly came through the radio intermittently, tinged with panic. "Hello? Can you hear me? This might not be hail. Otherwise, it wouldn't be moving this fast." I didn't respond immediately. But then Lee D., my other senior colleague, spoke up. "Harvey's right. Our cars might not be able to keep up. It's more like a rain squall within a hurricane, blowing westward. But from my experience, it looks like hail." I still didn't reply, slightly opening a window crack. Moisture in the air seeped into the driver's seat, forcing me to quickly turn on the air conditioning. However, while I was fiddling with these controls, a blinding flash of light suddenly appeared in my eyes so fast I couldn't immediately identify its source. A few seconds later, I realized it had come from the rearview mirror, from behind us. Impossible. We were chasing the hurricane. When did another tornado appear behind us? Just as I was about to open the communication channel, Lee D. made a sharp turn, driving into the heavy rain. The torrential rain immediately regained my full attention, forcing me to focus on driving amid their discussion and arguing. But after entering that rain curtain, I smelled a strange odor. The next second, a lightning bolt struck, appearing in the downpour ahead, followed by thunder that sounded like a chorus of people screaming and wailing. I don't know why I felt this way, but at that moment and in that place, that's exactly what my heart felt. The root cause might be that when the light illuminated the sky, besides Lee D. and Harvey's car, I also saw shadows cast on the highway, neither far nor near. Before the thunder had completely subsided, the vehicle in front suddenly skidded. I could tell Lee D. was trying to save it, but it was futile. One of their front wheels fell into a ditch, and the car spun, tumbling into the field beside the road. Fortunately, due to my lack of experience, I hadn't driven as fast as them, maintaining a sufficient distance. This gave me time to brake and stop slowly. After my car came to a complete stop, I quickly grabbed the radio, rushed out of the car, and ran towards the field, calling out to them repeatedly. They too were calling my name, but just as I was about to climb down the drop-off at the edge of the road and jump into the field, Leedy's voice changed from a plea for help to a warning. "What do you mean by answering your phone?" I quickly asked back. I didn't have time to think in the heavy rain. I just listened to my senior's words and hurriedly climbed back to the road. "Get back in your car immediately." I understood Leedy's meaning. Walking alone in the flat field was too dangerous. I could be struck by lightning at any moment. But the moment I got back in the car and closed the door, I realized how naive I had been. A lightning bolt suddenly struck from the clouds. It seemed to hit Leedy and Harvey's car directly in the field, but it also illuminated dozens, perhaps hundreds, of figures on the highway. I swear, at that moment, I saw nearly 100 people, all severely burned, with cracked skin, exposed bones, and even missing limbs. Each of them looked like they were in different stages of decay. In that brief moment, I could see that Leedy and Harvey's car hadn't exploded or caught fire. Instead, it was surrounded by these hundreds of living dead in the storm, staring intently. The world slowly darkened again after the lightning strike. The thunder rumbled, and I could vaguely see Harvey climbing out of the passenger side window. I don't know if the window was shattered by the lightning strike. I couldn't ask him anything because I couldn't contact him on the radio anymore. But my professional training told me this was impossible. Lightning doesn't strike the weakest point. It strikes the highest point in the area. Moreover, if it really had struck the car, their vehicle wouldn't be in that condition. I couldn't figure it out. The only explanation that made sense was that the lightning bolt acted as if it were alive, with its own purpose. I suddenly heard Harvey calling my name, snapping me out of my thoughts. Yes, he was running through the torrential rain across the field, towards my car. I reached out to open the passenger side door, rolled down the window, and shouted to him, "Over here, Harvey, over here." Another thunderbolt descended, like a judgment, striking Harvey directly. I could see his muscles instantly contract and tear. His mouth twisted into a grotesque curve as he screamed, and I could see, in less than a second, those figures returning. They were in the field, circling Harvey. The light gradually faded, and the hundreds of lifeless eyes slowly disappeared into the darkness. I was too scared to breathe. It wasn't just the sight of Harvey being struck by lightning and the strange people appearing before me. It was also because among them, a pair of eyes seemed to be looking in my direction. Was I the next victim? I didn't dare to think about it. Just quickly closed the car door. I was certain Harvey would never climb back into my car again. As I pulled my hand back from the door, that mournful thunder echoed through the sky again, as if hundreds of people were wailing and weeping in the storm. A sharp headache, deafness, and blindness followed. When I finally recovered, everything seemed to be red. The sky was red, the rain was red, the field was red, and the distant hurricane was red. Was this a warning? Instinctively, I decided to hide, opening the car door and crawling away from the vehicle as fast as I could. Serpentine flashes of light began to appear in the clouds, followed by a lightning bolt that struck my car. The immense noise violently assaulted my eardrums. I looked back. Despite its special protection, my car was severely damaged, and the ground beneath it was charred black. As the flash subsided, I saw them again. This time Harvey was among them. His jaw was still twisted grotesquely as it had been when he was struck, but his eyes no longer held panic. Instead, he stared at me listlessly along with the others. I trembled uncontrollably, stumbling backward and falling into the ditch beside the road. My rain-soaked clothes were repeatedly scraped by the weeds and discolored sunflowers by the field. The strange sight in my eyes didn't disappear. Instead, it became even more blood red. This oppressive feeling told me that slowly crawling away wouldn't work. I had to run, but my trembling legs only allowed me to crawl backward through the field with difficulty. Lightning struck again and again, getting closer and closer, until the third lightning bolt struck the field. I saw that the surrounding area was illuminated, full of the dead. They surrounded me, silent, only reaching out to try and grab me. I don't know how long it lasted, only that each of them touched me, strangling my neck, tearing at my hands and feet, accompanied by a strong stench of decay. The moment the light faded, they disappeared again. Strangely, the strange phenomenon in the sky also began to slowly disappear. It wasn't because the dark clouds moved. The hurricane carried the rain further west, and the sky around us began to clear slowly. 18, right? 17 or 18. I stood there in the field, stunned, recalling how many times that murderous lightning had struck. I had seen those living dead in the storm so many times. 18 times. That's right. In less than 10 minutes, lightning struck 18 times, and it felt like hours. The remaining light rain fell on me, icy cold, making me clear-headed. I finally managed to pull myself up, except for the charred car, cracked road, and the badly mutilated bodies. There was nothing else. I took out my phone and after trying for 4 or 5 minutes, finally got a signal. I called the police and my boss. Then I just sat there motionless, quietly watching the distant clouds and the hurricane still moving. 2 months have passed. Neither the police nor the doctors believe my story. They told me it was post-traumatic stress, that it was all a hallucination I experienced after witnessing the deaths of Lee and Harvey. I'm half believing, half doubting this explanation, but after I searched for a similar strange incident on a beach in northern Europe, I completely dismissed the doctor's diagnosis. It wasn't some sort of accident. After a storm, people in a fishing village found flocks of seagulls reduced to nearly fragments. More than being struck by lightning, the seagull corpses seemed to have been torn apart and pecked by their own kind. This reminded me that I had never seen the bodies of Lee and Harvey. I subconsciously assumed they were killed by lightning. But what if the people in the storm were the ones who truly harmed them? My experience ends here. It's 3:12 a.m. when I finished telling you this story. I couldn't sleep. The thunder outside continued, and lightning flashed intermittently. After telling you all this, hopefully, I can finally go to sleep. This storm-chasing story is over. This feeling of threat from unknown entities. Shadowy Stories thinks it has a strong Stephen King vibe. The greatest characteristic of the Thomas Cogg Archives series is that each story is independent, but contains strangely hidden connections. For example, what is the Northern European beach incident mentioned at the end of the story? And what commonalities does it have with this storm incident? Or even the other archive stories we've told before? That will be revealed next time. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and comment, and let me know if you'd like me to do another one. Thank you all for watching and listening. The tavern is closing. We'll see you next night.